Hey guys, this is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. I'm really glad you could make it. This is my very first live stream, so just bear with me. I wanted to do this because I wanted to essentially show what I do and how I do it. I've gotten a lot of questions over the years as to how I put my tutorials together and what's involved. And I wanted to kind of break it down for you. It would be a lot easier to do it this way than to actually create a tutorial showing you how to do it, because this way I could field questions and basically answer whatever I can. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing the Photoshop file. And what I have here is I have a wood brand, and I've got the wood texture and the bird design that we're going to put onto the wood that will ultimately create this wood brand. Afterwards, I'll show you how I essentially break it down into my screen recording software, which is kind of like a glitch in calling it up. Here you go. But I'll go over all this after we go over the tutorial. So, all right. So the first thing we're going to do, the first thing that I do is I kind of create a look that I like. Once I have all the steps to create the tutorial, I write it down. I kind of break it down into layers. I don't know if this will make a difference, but basically this is like the bottom layer, and I kind of number them going up in order. It's just like a lot easier to and you know, I write down the settings and everything that basically, because I don't like to waste time. I like to get right to it. So in this particular case, we're going to take the bird design here and get it into the wood. So I'll press Control or Command A to select it, and Control or Command C to copy it. I'll go into the wood design and click Control or Command V, which is on top. I'm just looking at the live chat right now, so let's see if I could answer some questions here. It's a guy from Russia. It's like 4 in the morning. I want to give thanks for you and your channel. Best wishes. I appreciate that. Thanks very much. Somebody from Quebec, David Mora. Thanks for dropping by today and watching this. Somebody from France, the Tarek 15. Bonjour. Somebody from Brazil. Yes, Daniel Day asks, do I use a Wacom or a Wacom to pronounce it the way they do? Yes, I do. I use a Wacom tablet, and it's an Intuos 3, I believe. It's a small tablet. It's like 4x6. I like to economize. I don't need a huge palette to, you know, this is perfectly fine, and it's very intuitive. Central America, how you doing? Joan Martinez. United Kingdom. Wow, this is great. I'm enjoying this. Aquarian Afiat. Germany. Saudi Arabia. Wow. Anyway, so getting back to the tutorial. So what I do is I basically, all right, so now that I have the bird design over my wood, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of it. So Control or Command J makes a copy, and then I'm going to hide the top layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on layer 1, go into channels, and click on this little icon down here. That basically makes a selection. I don't know if you can see it from here, but it makes a selection of the black areas of the bird. And then what I'm going to do is press the delete key, which deletes the white background. Okay, I'm going to make my top layer active again, visible and active, and I'm going to expand it. But before I do that, I'm going to invert the selection by pressing Control-Shift-I. That inverts the selection, so if I press Q, you can see it as a quick mask. How you doing, Larry from Santa Clarita, California? This is really great. I'm going to expand it. I'm going to expand the selection 1 pixel. So I go to Select, Modify, and Expand. I'll expand it by 1 pixel. All right, and then I'll fill the selection with black. Now, since my foreground and background colors are black and white, my foreground color is black. To get it black and white, you press the D key on your keyboard. So I'm going to press Alt or Option plus Delete to fill it with black. And then I'm going to delete the selection by pressing Control or Command D. Next, I'm going to invert the layer by pressing Control or Command I. That inverts it. I'm going to go to Filter, Stylize, and Wind. Okay, the method is Wind, and the direction, it's ticked from the right. We're going to tick it from the left later. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'll click OK. I'm going to repeat the filter twice. To do this, I'm going to press Control or Command F twice. Excuse me, I pressed Control or Command J, pardon me. Here we go. I'm going to go back to Filter, Stylize, and Wind. And I'm going to go the other way from the left. Click OK, press Control or Command F twice. I'm going to invert the layer, Control or Command I, and then I'm going to blur it. I'm going to blur it 1 pixel. Blur, Gaussian blur, 1 pixel, and click OK. Let me go to the chats now. Oh man, Liberia, San Jose, Doug Parasso, greetings. Washington State, David Kearns, how you doing? New Jersey, Fabish D. Okaka, how you doing? Scotland, Robbie Hendry says, could you have gotten rid of the white background with blend modes? Gotten rid of the white background with blend modes. Yeah, but it's so much easier to just delete it. And there's a reason for it too, and I'll explain it later. Because I'm going to access the selection again. So once we delete the white background, we automatically have a selection. It's just a lot quicker, a lot easier. Hey Greg from Loveland, Ohio. Thanks for joining me. All right, so at this point, let's see. I'll open the Levels window, Control or Command L, and in my output levels, in the black levels, I'm going to type in 72. That basically makes the black, all the black areas, a gray tone. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, What I'm going to do is I'm going to hide layer 1, and I'm going to change the blend mode of the top layer to color burn. All right. I'm going to reduce the opacity to 60%. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layer 1. I'm going to make a selection of the shape by control clicking or command clicking right on the thumbnail. And if you look closely, you might be able to see the marching ants, which basically is a selection. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to feather the selection 2 pixels. So go into Select, Modify, and Feather. Feather it 2 pixels and click OK. All right. I'm going to make a new layer above the top layer by pressing the new layer icon. And I'm going to fill it with black. How do I do it? The same way I did it before. The foreground color is black. I'm going to press Alt or Option plus Delete to fill it with black. And I'm going to deselect it by pressing Control or Command D. All right. Now, I'm going to reduce the fill right here to 40%. What this does is it reduces the opacity of the layer by 40%, but any filters, any layer styles we're going to add to this layer will retain essentially the full visibility of the layer style. So you can see that later, but basically it kind of makes the black 40% transparent. I'm going to double click the empty area over here of the layer, which opens up the layer style window. Okay. I'm going to click Bevel and Emboss. All right. And these are the areas I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose outer bevel for style. The technique is smooth. The depth is 50%. The direction is up. The size is 20 pixels. The angle is 130 degrees. And the altitude is 48 degrees. The highlight mode is linear dodge in white. Well, it doesn't really matter for the highlight mode or the color because the opacity is 0%. So it doesn't really matter what blend mode I use for the highlight or the color. It's 0%. So it's not even registering. The shadow mode is linear burn, black, and 22%. Click shadow, inner shadow, linear burn, black, opacity is 10%, global light is 147, distance is 5, and the size is 50 pixels. Click OK. And there you have it. You have a wood burn. And this applies to, if you want to add text to it, this applies to the text as well. To do that, I'll show you how to do that, but let me go back to chat first. It's very interesting. It's great to actually read all this stuff from Morocco, and that's what I love about doing this for you guys, because my greatest pleasure is when I wake up in the morning and I look at the comments and questions from all over the world, and just knowing that in my own little way I'm helping people learn Photoshop at least. It feels good. It feels good that people can actually learn from something that I know about, or know about to a degree anyway. And it's a great feeling. And the fact that I'm speaking to you from all over the world now, live, is just amazing to me. So I really, really appreciate it. Let me get rid of all of these. Okay, I'll go back to the wood. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the bird design, bring it onto my wood again. Now, if you want to add text, click on your type tool, all right, and choose a font. In this case, it'll be American Captain. Choose a point size. Aliasing isn't really important. I'll choose left alignment, and black, which is important, black for the color, okay? Click on my document and type out my text. I'll use my move tool, and I'll move it. And then I'll press Control or Command E to merge these two layers right here. Now I'll bring it in to the wood texture. Oh, it's already in my wood texture. I'm sorry, I already put it in. And basically from here, you know, you make the copy, and then you do, you know, you get rid of the same thing basically that I was doing before. You know what I mean? So basically it's the same thing, but you start off with adding your text right in the beginning. You can do this whole thing with text as well. You can even use photos. You can actually make your design from a face, you know, by using filters, cutout filter or threshold, for example. So you can do some really, really cool things. So what I do at this point is to create my tutorial, I use a program called Camtasia. Let me read. It says, Sushan Gupta, you are the only reason I can even use Photoshop CS6. Really, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks very much. By the way, if you so choose, if you want to make use of what YouTube calls Super Chat, at the bottom you'll see a happy face and a $sign. If you want to ask me a question and you really want me to answer it, you could use the Super Chat, and it'll pin your comment to the top so I could see it and answer it. It's something YouTube did for a while. Well, just, I think, started it at some point. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, so what I do is I record all of my steps in Camtasia, which is what this program is called. This is not the most recent version of Camtasia. This is the one just before. The most recent version of Camtasia, frankly, I don't like as much for a number of reasons, but which I'm not going to get into here. But I do recommend this particular program to use if you ever want to do tutorials or kind of create anything that you ultimately want to make an iMovie with, or an MP4. So my favorite part of this process is the beginning, which is to kind of create music. I have to create music to put into my intros. I kind of equate it to creating a movie trailer, you know, within the limited scope of what I have to use, but adding music and editing it together kind of whets the appetite. Camtasia is not free. King of Spades asks. It is not free. I think it might be like $100, $150, but once you have it, and it's really worth it. There are other recording applications that are free, but they're not as robust as Camtasia. So I created this background. Let me turn off the audio. If I click the play button, okay, you can see I created this many years ago in After Effects, and I decided to use it for my intros, and I don't do yeah, it's okay. Beirut 00 Camtasia, excuse me, Camtasia is $199. Thank you very much. Charles Lay says Camtasia is $264.47 Canadian. It does run on a Mac. I'm using Windows. I used to work at NBC, National Broadcasting Company, for many, many years, for like 35 years. We used Macs, exclusively Macs. But when I come home and I do this kind of thing, I use Windows, so kind of back and forth. They're both great, but for different reasons. But I find using Windows, for me, it is fine. Works better for me. Camtasia definitely works better on Windows than on a Mac. I'm using FRN5566 asks what Camtasia version I'm using. It's the 8.6 is what I'm using. There is a new one, like I said, and it's very similar, but there's a lot of things in it that I don't like. Robbie Hendry asks, how did you get the name Blue Lightning? I love the color blue. I wanted to have something in there that's a force of nature, and I think lightning is a good one. And TV, because it's essentially is what this is. It's sort of like a channel, a YouTube channel that I'm using. So Blue Lightning TV kind of just had a ring to it, and I decided to use it. Why do you have a 50s style logo in? Toxic asks, why do you have a 50s style logo intro? You can definitely do better than this one. Well, I guess thanks. Yeah, I mean, at some point I might change it, but I guess it's sort of like a good luck thing. A lot of baseball players wear their lucky socks or their lucky cap or whatever, and this intro kind of stuck with me. But at some point I'm going to change it. I was using a different intro for some other things. For about 5 or 6 months, I was using a different intro when I was doing a face reveal in some of my tutorials. But I stopped doing that. I'm more of a behind the cameras type guy. A lot of people on YouTube obviously are an in front of the camera person. But for what I do, I just basically, I not that I'm shy, but it's not really my thing to kind of emote on camera. I mean, this is different. This is almost like kind of teaching you. Where are you from, by the way? Shaquille asks, New York. New Yorker all my life. Visited the world in different countries, but not really. I visited the United States all over. A few years ago, I went to Italy and France, which was great. Let's see. I used to use Illustrator. A few people are asking, and I design. I used to work for a television show called Late Night with Conan O'Brien for like 15 years before he went out to LA and became host of The Tonight Show. But I didn't want to move to LA, so but I used Illustrator to design a lot of the logos, especially the logos that were on the road trips for like a week in Chicago or San Francisco or LA. I used Illustrator to design the logos. I haven't used Illustrator since I left NBC, which was, believe it or not, 7 years ago. I'm doing this Photoshop thing, teaching you guys full time. That's what I do full time now. And I really love it. I have to tell you. I loved working on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. But when they left, I left NBC. You know, I just didn't like any. I love entertainment, and I didn't. They put me on different shows, and I worked on them for a little bit, but that's not really where my heart is. So to get back to your question, I pretty much forgot everything about Illustrator at this point, to be honest. The expression is, when you don't use it, you lose it. That's my case. If I looked at Illustrator right now, I couldn't tell you how to even open it. So, yeah, somebody mentioned Flern. The guy is great. His last name is Nace, Aaron Nace, I think. Unbelievable. The guy is fantastic. I admire him very much. So anyway, so what I do is I add music, I find music. In this case, I wanted sort of like an old Western theme, like a great outdoors. And I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm going to try to, I'm going to play it. I'll put the speaker on loud. I don't know if I'm going to get feedback. If I get feedback, I'll turn it off. It's sort of like an old... Yeah, I'm getting feedback. I apologize. Let me try it. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm going... Yeah, frankly, it's too... yeah, it really wouldn't work. Unless I shut up for a while. Maybe I'll shut up for like 30 seconds and put it on. But, I'll try to figure out the feedback situation at a later point. This track over here is basically the music that I edit together. This track here is my voiceover, right here. This is where I have all of my images in this track. So if I click play, come on, here we go. I'm able to zoom in, zoom out, you know, use different transitions, and then I basically get into the tutorial itself. This whole thing is essentially edited together. It's like very linear, and if I compress it, this tutorial is 7 minutes, about 6 minutes and 49 seconds. And here's my watermark at the top. Yeah, so but I'm a very detailed oriented person, and if the timing is everything for me. If the timing is off, even by one frame, I know it's a bit obsessive, but you know, I'm kind of a perfectionist that way. I mean, if I look at it this way, once I create something for you guys, it's out there, and I want to feel good about it. So my earlier tutorials were pretty bad, really bad. I went too fast, the pacing was off, I didn't, you know, and I learned over the years to make my tutorials as best as I could, and it's a process, and it took me a while. And I hope I'm still evolving as far as trying to make them better and better for you. But like I said, I try to make it fun. I get right to the point. You guys don't want to hear me ramble on like I'm doing now. You know, you want to learn something, and I want to teach it to you. And that's really the whole point for me. I'm not selling myself to you. I'm basically trying to convey how to create something in Photoshop and help you improve. As I said, as my channel motto is to learn, improve, and have fun in Photoshop, which is basically what I do. Do you have any? Do you sell any premium courses? Not really. No. I have a few. There's a few sites that a teacher on. Skillshare is one. I was doing what was that again? Vessel for a while, but I'm not doing that anymore. But there's a few pay sites that a bunch of other instructors are on, and you can download tutorials, for them. It says, Max Gottfried says, greetings, Marty. I'm interested in expanding my animation skills. Do I need to use After Effects for full-blown animation, or can I fudge it with Photoshop, Tween, or in Timeline? You can do limited animation in Photoshop. I did a couple of tutorials of animations, but frankly, After Effects is incredible. After Effects, as deep as Photoshop is, After Effects is so much deeper and so much more powerful. It is probably the best creative program that I've worked on. You can pretty much do anything in After Effects. It's incredible what you can do. And it takes a while. And some of the people that I worked on at NBC, they're amazing at After Effects. I kind of started learning After Effects a little on the late side. But I kind of was self-taught on it, and I kind of improved over time, and I was getting better and better. But there are people that were working on it for years before I was, and these people, some of these people are, and they're all artists. Everybody that I work with are graphic artists, art directors, illustrators, 3D people, and they were amazing. A Q&A about you and all the things you do without Photoshop would be very interesting. Get to know more about the man, Robbie Hendry asks. Well, ask away, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Automotivated asks, Marty, I used some of your tutorials for a flyer I pieced together for a cruise. You're a lifesaver. Glad to help. Learning AE is one of the hardest things to do. It takes time because it is such a deep program. But what you can do, it's really not hard per se. It's just it's not any harder than Photoshop. It's not really much harder than Photoshop or Illustrator. It's just that there's more things you can do in the program, and it's really meant to bring together graphic elements and audio in a much I keep bringing up the word deep, in a much deeper way. It's much more powerful than Photoshop does certain things, but After Effects is just mind-blowing. I just loved it. I did all the titles for Conan, all the intro for his comedy bits using After Effects. The titles, if they made it or something, and I would bring an element. I loved it. It was great. How do you buy the latest Photoshop CC? Serene Nath asks. I do have a link in all of my tutorials that I've done, I guess, in the last year. If you, right below the tutorial is the video description, and if you click show more and scroll down, you'll see the link. There's a link I provided that gives you 15% off the first year of a package they put together called the photography plan. And the photography plan includes the latest version of Photoshop, Lightroom, I believe 20 gigabytes of cloud storage, and a couple of other things. And normally it's like $9.99 per month, US currency, and you get it for like I think $7.99 instead by using the link. So I hope that helps. And the link is there, so as soon as you click on the link, it'll bring you right to the thing, and you download it right away. And it's great because any updates occurs automatically and instantly. It says together $8.50 English pound. So yeah. And anyway, so I wish I could play the audio on this, but you get the idea. You know, it's all broken down into layers, and whatever track is on top, you'll see first. So it kind of hides whatever's underneath. So what I do to create something like this, this is called a call out right here. And that's what this is, okay? So if once I click play, you can see the call out, and then there's a fade over here. It's so basically I went from one scene to another with this fade. It fades. See how I'm doing that? And yeah, and that's basically how I do it. And I ended off with some animation, and that's basically what I do. People ask me all the time, how do I come up with ideas for these tutorials? And my answer is, I guess what I do. Let me click on the. I guess what I do is yeah, I mean, the ideas come from all sources. I mean, I might see a shadow playing on a wall, playing against a wall, and it looks really interesting, and it kind of might spur an idea that it inspires me to go back to Photoshop and create something using a shadow, or I might see a torn, weathered poster on a wall, and that gives me an idea to create that look. So things come from. I might look at the way water ripples, or how reflections are on the water, and how that works. So I kind of do a lot of experimenting, and I listen to music, or lately I've been listening to audiobooks, which is really, on using Audible, and that's a lot of fun. So basically I just kind of, it's like white noise, you know what I mean, just kind of in the background, and I just experiment with it. And then once I come up with a look that I'm happy with, then it really starts to get exciting for me. If I can create a final image that I'm really happy with, it's a turn on for me. That's when it really gets exciting. And then I create a test Photoshop file, and then I create I do it again to make sure that I write all the steps down, and then I record them, and then ultimately I do my audio. After I record the video, I do my audio. Somebody asks, when is the next live session? Good question. Good question. I'm going to do it. Let's see. That would be. Come on, where are you? Where are you? Here. Here we go. Okay, so that would be Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 10 a.m. This time it's to 10 a.m. And the reason for that is because this way the people in Europe will be able to, or in Asia or the Middle East can watch it. And it'll be, I think, like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, their time. Because right now it's like super early. It's like 5 or 6 a.m. So they're probably going to miss it. Do you use Adobe Premiere Pro as well? Digitex Rebel Tuber asks. I do not. You said you listen to music as white noise. Automotivated asks, do you have a playlist for it, and would you be willing to share it with us? Sure. I'll definitely do that. The McCartney Project asks, on average, how much time does it take to complete a tutorial? Great question. For me, it's a 10-minute tutorial could, from beginning to end. Okay, so once I have the final image, not including what it takes to create the final image, but once I have the final image, it probably takes me, it takes me a few days. I mean, it takes me, say, 3 to 4 days to complete. I know it sounds like it's a lot, and it is a lot, but like I said, I try to plan everything out, and it depends on the complexity of the tutorial, but basically, if it's a 10-minute tutorial, maybe 3 days, something like that. I used to do 2 tutorials a week for many years, and now I started doing this in November of 2011, and at this point, I've done over 520 tutorials, which blows me away when I think about it. But now I post 1 tutorial a week. I do have about 5 or 6 tutorials that are on ice, so to speak. They're unlisted on YouTube. And once a week I make them live. I make them public. But they're already completed. They're in the box. They're ready to go. This one that I'm doing right now that you're looking at will probably post in a few weeks, because I have others that I'd like to put up first before I actually before I post the this wood brand again. So yeah, let me look at the Monkleekly asks, why is it called Blue Lightning TV? Somebody asked that earlier. I love blue. Lightning is a force of nature. TV is what this is on a channel, Blue Lightning TV. Australia, almost midday in Australia. Good day, mate. Rob's Mob 1. Carrie Miller says, good day. Ayub Labardi asks, yes, brother, me too. His tutorials helped me many times. Thanks so much, Marty. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. So, yeah, what I'm going to do next time is go over another tutorial that a lot of people ask me about, the water reflection tutorials that I brought up earlier. I might do that one on Tuesday, or I might do one that I haven't done yet. We'll see. We'll see. Cape Verde. Greetings from Cape Verde. David Gomes. How you doing, Dave? So, do you do your tutorials all alone? FC asks, I do. I'm a one-man band. I'm it. no helpers. And I prefer it that way. I don't. What I love about doing this, as I said, is not only I'm helping people and I'm connecting with people over the world, but it's a wonderful creative outlet for me. It gives me, and I do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I think any professional creative person, that's the most important thing for them is to essentially be able to control their creativity, their creations, and not have anybody over them. When you're doing freelance work, when you're working for a company, there are layers of everybody's got an opinion, and it can be frustrating. There comes a point where and I've worked with a few people over the years, not with Conan, which was great. Working on Conan was I had 100% create freedom. But prior to that, there were situations where I felt like a cab driver. Where you want to go, and I'll take you there. You know what I mean? I don't mean that disparagingly to cab drivers, but my point is that I'll do my thing, and if they want changes, well then, okay, tell me what the changes you want. Sit next to me, and I'll make those changes. Tell me where you want to go, and I'll take you there. But there's no creativity in that. You're basically a pair of hands, So the great thing about these tutorials is that they're my ideas, they're my designs. I teach at my own pace, and I think of them as being like my babies, each and every one of them. So, and I think that it's important that they're as good as they can be, and as clear as they can be. Who is your teacher in Photoshop? I'm asked by Sri Nath. If your question is how did I learn Photoshop, I basically learned Photoshop from various sources. One was through videos, tutorials. Another was through books. And the third way is a kind of a cross-pollination of Photoshop users that I've been doing it for a while. So I would ask them questions, and they would basically answer them. So those three sources were the main ways that I learned Photoshop. When I started working at NBC, everything was analog. I come from an old school. I'm like an old school artist. Everything was analog. There were no computers. I used a real airbrush on real paper. I used ruling pens, and I was trained as a commercial artist and illustrator and graphic designer. And I used tools of the trade back then that are not used at all. There's no point in using them. There's so much more efficient using a computer. But back then, I learned with real hands-on materials. And then we went to a software called the Quantel Paintbox. It's an English company. And it was sort of like the precursor to Photoshop. Not nearly as powerful as Adobe products, but it was the only game in town. It reigned supreme from 1984 to about 1995. For like 10 years, it was the only game in town. All the broadcast artists worked on Quantel Paintbox. Max Gottfried asks, where did you go to school? I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York, and prior to that, I went to a 2-year school to learn commercial art called the State University of New York in Farmingdale, Long Island, and it was a no nonsense crash course, 2 years to once you graduate from there, you could get a job at a commercial art studio. But I transferred over to Pratt, and I got into filmmaking and a few other disciplines, and got a job at an animation studio for a few years, and then I got a job at ABC TV, and then NBC, and I ended up staying at NBC until I left. I'm sorry if I'm not answering all of these questions because, again, it's there's a lot of questions here, and I'm just trying to like glance over here to see what we have. But anyway, oh, Max said I went to Pratt, graduated in '75. Cool. What street did you live on? Because I lived on what did I live on? Not DeKalb, Washington Street for a while. Jeffrey Mullen asks, love the tutorials. Are you self-taught or trained? And how do you stay up on the changes that come with updates? Yeah, I went over that a little bit before. I learned it through books and videos and asking questions. And I keep up on the updates. Yeah, I look forward to the updates. I basically, when there are new updates, I go to the Adobe's official site, and there are Adobe evangelists that know what the changes are. They've had weeks or months working on it, and they come up with tutorials showing the basics of any new features in the update, and I go over it and then I would convey that to you guys. It's difficult to for people. Most people don't have a subscription to Adobe's Creative Cloud, so they don't really work on CC, version CC. Most people work on earlier versions. So like right now I'm working on CC 2017, and what happens is when I do a tutorial, I'm aware of that. So if I can, I try to explain a workaround. If I'm doing something in a later version that I know is not available in an earlier version, I try to show a workaround for people using earlier versions. I try to do that in most cases, but it's difficult because there are many people that are using versions that are really old, CS2, CS3, and it's almost impossible to do many of the things that could be done now. And I usually go back as far as CS5 or CS6, but not earlier than that. Boabab95 asks, do you like the new way Adobe hosts its programs cloud-based? Yes, I do. I still have CS2. Well, there you go. I want to upgrade, but really prefer having an actual copy versus the cloud. I totally understand. There are many people just like you who feel that way, and that's cool. I was like that too. I wanted a physical copy. It's really not in your best interests to have physical copies anymore, because it's there really isn't any need for it, frankly. I mean, for $10 a month, you get, first of all, to buy a physical copy of Photoshop now. Well, when you bought CS2, it was a few $100s. It was like $200, $300, $400. I'm assuming. I know CS5 and CS6, I believe, it was like $400 or $500 at least, if not more. Well, consider for $120 a year, you get the most recent version and Lightroom and even 20 gigabytes of cloud storage. You can get that for like $120 a year USD. And you're getting the recent updates immediately. It really is worth it for me to get the cloud, but that's my opinion, and it's just one man's opinion. I just think that everything is going to the cloud now. I mean, to hold on to a physical disk, that's old and antiquated, it's really not in your best interest to hold on to it. I understand why you want to own it, but just subscribe. It's a lot easier, quicker. Do you have favorite fellow YouTubers you watch? Gypsy's Gold asks. Well, I do actually, but they're not really related to Photoshop. For example, there's a guy that teaches the Mac, which I don't even use anymore. I use the Windows, but it's fascinating to watch him. I'll give him a plug, give him a shout out. What is his name here? Let me go into... I want to make sure I got his name right. Let's see, come on. Okay, his name is David A. Cox. He's really good. I enjoy his stuff. I used to like, is it Boogie 298? I don't know, some guy is really interesting. Yeah, just like weird stuff. I like wimp.com. Great videos. Max Godfrey referenced my cab driver a comment, and it's just more, yeah. He says it's more like being a prostitute. Not really. I mean, you have to understand, it's work. They call it work for a reason, and you're there to provide a service. But that service is I mean, if you're a baker and somebody wants a cake, you're going to bake the cake. If somebody wants, if you're, a plumber and somebody calls you to fix their sink, you do it. Same thing with graphics. I mean, or if you're freelancing, somebody asks you to design a poster and you do it, and then they kind of make changes. Well, you do it because you're being paid to essentially do what you do. Let's see. Lisa Grimm -Partisse says, love your tutorials, very helpful. Thanks for creating them. Maybe you answered this already, but what is background as designer? Yeah, my background as a designer is basically went to Pratt, went to State University of Farmingdale, I did book jacket. I mean, I did a ton of freelance work, and there was a time where I pretty much did a book jacket cover for almost every book publisher in New York. And I designed album covers, off-Broadway posters, record album covers. I worked at CBS Records, filled in as a freelance designer, art director for a while. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let me see something here. Bear with me. All right, I think I'm still live. Somebody send me a comment to make sure that I'm still live here, because I think my computer got stuck. I think. Let me click update and see where I'm at. Oh, I think it did crash. I think it did crash. I'm going to reload. Sorry for the delay, guys. This is my first foray in live stream. So I don't know what's going on here, but come on. Come on. Let's see where I'm at here. Anyway, what time is it? Wow, I've been on live streaming for an hour. That's a lot. Anyway, what's going on here, but let me turn off the... Come on. Okay, I am live. Thank you, Rudy. I appreciate that. Anyway, I guess that's about it. Join me, if you can join me on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. That would be May 9th. We'll chat again and just shoot the breeze. I could show you some more tutorials. And I really do appreciate the time you spent with me. All right, I'm going to stop the live stream now, and I will see you soon. Take care.